Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today let's go over Tesla as per usual because once again we are red. I mean at this point it honestly isn't even much of a surprise. I feel like at this point we're all just kind of used to seeing it being red. Now, in case you haven't noticed and in case you've forgotten, friendly reminder that in about 10 trading days, this is 10 candles, today being the 10th, we have dropped 34-ish% roughly. That is quite obscene. Like, I'm not gonna lie, that is pretty ridiculous. That is crazy. But yeah, that's just kind of wild, right? So, it is what it is. It's been a rough, it's honestly just been a rough past few weeks, month even, right? So, but let's either way talk about it, right? The market's closing in just about 5 minutes. So Tesla is going to be ending the day down about 1.5%, give or take, probably ending around this $123 to $24 mark, compared to the market itself being slightly green. So Tesla, yet again, unsurprisingly, underperformance. Now, keep in mind, though, that some part of this underperformance can persist like this, mainly because, there's still probably a bunch of options, a bunch of puts still in the market that maybe expired today or something like that. So it's almost like you have to, let the water, let the sewage, fully leak out before you can start, a new, I guess, water going through. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense. That's probably a horrible example, but I hope maybe roughly you got an idea. That's what I'm talking about, where you kind of just need to let this almost flush out. You know what I mean? And then we can potentially start finally actually getting a bounce. Now, speaking of bounces, right? So this right here, so we still fell out of this overall channel, which I still think is pretty bearish. I really want to see you recapture this channel as soon as absolute possible. Monday will be pretty good in my opinion. Hopefully Tuesday as well. I really want to see back in this channel as soon as possible. If you don't get back in, that gets, in my opinion, a bit more bearish. But however, this is the decent spot to bounce that we're pretty much at right now, which is pretty much that 120-ish level, which I don't know if we touched it. No, we didn't get to exactly 120. We went to 121, but close enough. The point is the fact that back in 2020 of August roughly, we were trading around this area, and you can see we did get rejected around here, right? And then as we rocketed up, we had a bunch of support around this area as well, this kind of 120-ish area. And if we failed to hold that, then we come down to 112, right? So those are the main two levels, or I guess the next level will be 100, but those are the most important levels. This is a pretty decent level to bounce, 120. If we fail, next level is about 112-ish. If we fail that, we're pretty much going to 100, right? Most important levels are right then and there. So that's kind of number one. Right, so this is a pretty decent spot to potentially get some form of reversal. Also, because on top of that, Tesla, I believe, is historically the most oversold it has ever been, ever. Yes, see, this is where we are right now. We have never been this. Actually, no, once before, all the way back in the 16th of February, was the only other time we were oversold this much, which was right here. Why isn't it showing me? I'm gonna zoom in on here. Don't zoom in there. Right around here. This is the only time we have been oversold as much as we are. And let's see how much this drop was. This is the only comparable time to being this crazy oversold. And this drop in about 27 candles, so just about over a month overall, was about a 42% drop. So we dropped only about maybe 9% less, but in about half the time frame. And this was essentially one of those drops where you can see on the RSI on the daily was an absolutely just obscene, severe drop, which we're pretty much at right now. I guess the other one potentially could be over here as well, where it's somewhat comparable. Right, just to try to take a look at history, as to see if we can determine anything from history, or what history has done before. As you can see, this is a massive drop as well, where really truly over here kind of started was similar to what we have right now, actually, right, about the same drop, except I think ours is a bit faster. So yeah, so our drop is actually more intense than this and faster as well. Yeah, so just kind of taking a look back as to how Tesla has performed back at these kind of RSI levels, and then we have of course gotten some pretty severe bounces from there, pretty aggressive bounces up from there as well, as shorts potentially cover and whatnot, as all the people that needed to get fleshed out or flushed out, whatever, have been flushed out. People that got greedy, margin calls, blah blah blah, or all those kind of negative factors that just are kind of snowballing on top of each other, finally getting taken out of the system, if you will. Which is good, it's a healthy correction essentially. As crazy as this one is, but it is what it is sometimes, right? On top of that, I do want to of course make it very clear that everything I say in this video is not financial advice. Make your own decisions, do your own research. Now, the main question I'm sure everyone is wondering, okay, well, let's just say, okay, in theory, just as a theoretical example, let's say we were to bounce from here. where could that potentially take us, right? So there's two places you can take a look at, right? It's kind of, you can kind of argue which one's the swing high. You can argue this is the swing high and then this is potentially the swing low, or you can make an argument this right here is the swing high. So taking the argument that this up here was a swing high and this kind of was like all one move as to being the swing low, if in theory we were to go and bounce from here, and of course assuming that we are still very much in a downtrend, which, you know, we are, right, until I'll prove it otherwise, you have to assume that we won't go too much higher than the 0.5. So in my opinion, absolute best case scenario will be a 192. A pretty realistic, you know, good, very good case scenario would be about this kind of, you know, mid 170s that I've been talking about for a while, maybe even 180. And then, of course, they have the 382, which is the 165. Those, I would say, are the main levels, probably the major ones I'll be looking for. Personally, it would be 165 to 180, somewhere in that range would be the level I would personally be looking at, right, as to being, you know, the potential level for it to bounce. Now, if you wanted to take a look at potentially if this was a swing high instead, and this was a swing low, right, you would kind of look at more or less the same points on the Fibonacci, which is the 0.5-ish, so about 160, maybe 170 for lucky, could be as bad as 150 as well. I think it'll be potentially better than that, but it's hard to say for sure. I mean, 150 was the level though I really wanted to hold, that we had, you know, a bunch of bounces here, more or less a little bit, and then we failed to hold it overall. It's a little bit easier to see it on the weekly, and the weekly does heavily suggest that the swing high was actually this green candle, which was the first Fibonacci we looked at. So just as a very quick, fresh reminder, right, this is a little bit easier and more, you know, clear, I guess, to see, cleaner. So in other words, yeah, about that 160 to 170-ish level. I would say, you know, 170-ish, give or take like 5 to 10 points, somewhere around that general level will most likely be where the swing high would be, assuming, of course, we bounce from this area, which again, doesn't mean we have to, doesn't mean we will, but we very well could. Taking a look at the weekly RSI, actually, let's take a look at the weekly RSI. That's also pretty important to notice. So you can see the weekly RSI is actually the most oversold Tesla has ever been since inception. It has never been this oversold ever. The only two times that it was even in this ballpark was pretty much that February that we just talked about, and that May that I believe was the other one we just talked about, right? Those are the only ones that were even comparable, but were even more so oversold. This is the first time we actually went into quite literal oversold territory on the weekly, because these ones aren't necessarily truly oversold. They're just like pretty much on the brink of being oversold, because they never really actually went underneath this 30. Under 30 is where you start being considered oversold, and we're at 28.8 roughly. Doesn't mean you can't go lower. This does not mean, I want to make it very clear, this does not mean that we can't go lower. We absolutely can. However, whenever we've been oversold anywhere around this realm before, the bounce has been spectacular. Of course, situations are different. It's not, you know, so, you know, it's black and white, I guess, right? But just, you know, kind of something to consider, something to think about, right? You know, we are in extreme oversold territory. So just an overall bounce, at least some form of bounce, would not be too surprising. And the weekly, again, because the chart is just a lot cleaner, suggests that we probably will go up to about 166, all the way as high as to about 180 almost, right? So pretty much right around this level right here. Right around this level right here is the level I would personally be eyeballing if, of course, we were to get a nice little bounce from here. Now, the main question on top of that is there anything signifying that there is going to be a bounce, other than the potentially being, you know, a support area right here that I just talked about, you know, relative to over here? Nothing too crazy, honestly, nothing too crazy. The candles still look fairly bearish. You know, not the most bullish looking things in the entire world. So that's something else to keep in mind, right? Just two absolutely horrendously looking, super ugly weekly candles, potentially an exhaustive candle, right? This could be, you can argue this is an exhaustive candle, where essentially that kind of means that in this case, the sellers are exhausted because we had two massive red candles in a row, which in theory are bearish candles. However, because the volume is so insanely high, you can technically make the argument that, you know, so many people have either sold it out of panic or been forced to sell because of margin calls, liquidity issues, whatever, you know, or have been liquidated rather. Whatever the case may be, you can argue that, you know, people have essentially that, or that wanted to sell, or that have been selling, or that were thinking of selling, have most likely sold because of these just complete and utter, just straight red candle bars that we've been getting on extremely high volume. You can see this weekly volume has been exceptionally high, that we haven't seen this weekly volume all the way back since like pretty much 2 years ago, right? So that's something else to consider. So this could be an exhausted selling candle. You never know. Of course, maybe you couldn't, or it's hard to say for sure. It's not, you know, definitive in my opinion, but that is something to consider. Another thing to keep in mind, guys, is on Monday, December 26th, which of course is the coming Monday in just a couple of days or so, the market is going to be closed for essentially Christmas. So that's something else to consider as well, right? Observance of Christmas. Market on the Monday, December 26th, 2022 is close. So honestly, at this point, thank goodness, because maybe we can have one extra day of not seeing Tesla go red for once. That'll be very nice to see. However, anyways, in case you're wondering what I'm doing, not a whole lot right now. I'll be completely honest. I'm just kind of waiting on the sidelines. I'm just kind of letting this happen, letting this play out. You know, I'm not even looking at it that much because at this point, it's just red every single day. I already made the moves I wanted to. I sold those puts for January 20th, and I'm just waiting and I'm being patient. I'm not looking for plays. I'm not rushing plays. I'm not forcing plays. However, with that being said, I am considering getting a call on Tesla. Nothing crazy, extremely small amount of my portfolio, like it will be very, very little, like at most like a % of my portfolio. But I am thinking of maybe entering a call on Tuesday. I just want to see how it opens on Tuesday first, and then potentially riding it up, because I do strongly believe that we are extremely overdue for a bounce. We are extremely oversold. Like this is ridiculous levels of being oversold. And I do believe that a bounce is around the horizon. It's just a matter of when. Now, again, and I want to make this very clear, this doesn't mean that I'm thinking this is the bottom, and I don't, believe it or not, even though as crazy as it is, we're at 123. No, people, back when we were here, people were calling me crazy for even saying 150. We're even substantially lower than that, right? I should have been even more bearish. I wish I listened to myself even more. I really do, but I didn't. I actually started buying way too early because I didn't think we would fall this aggressively. I thought we would go to 150. I don't think we'd go here that fast. That caught me off guard, and I ended up buying way too early, which is, you know, disappointing, but it is what it is. But yeah, so that's kind of, you know, overall what I'm seeing, guys. So let me know what you think down below. You know, we'll see. Again, nothing in the candles themselves are currently suggesting that this is a place to bounce. We are starting to find hopefully some base here, though we've tried that several times and it's failed every single time. So hopefully this time we can find a base here. And until a candle suggests that, you know what, a bounce seems to be in play, then I will buy a call and I will probably ride the wave up. Now, in theory, what I'm hoping for now is that we can essentially do here what we couldn't do here, where essentially it will be that morning star candle, which I talked about, how you get essentially a pretty, you know, large red candle, then either a red or green candle with long wicks on the upper, on the bottom and the top, followed by a candle like this. Now, this one obviously didn't play out because, again, not every single pattern is going to play out guaranteed. That'll be way too easy, but it just increases the odds severely. So I want to see these three candles on Tesla with, of course, I guess Tuesday being that green candle, where it would essentially be, I wish I could draw on this thing that's without making it look hideous, where it would essentially be something like this, a green candle, give or take, right? It'll be something like that, right? As you can see, pretty fat red candle, followed by, in this case, you know, again, doesn't have to be a red or a green candle, doesn't matter too much, but nonetheless, a candle that has fairly equal wicks at the bottom and the top, right? Kind of, you know, it's kind of making like a morning star pattern, and then you get, again, kind of like a similar candle to this, but it's green instead. That to me will be very bullish. That to me would potentially signal that this is the potential bottom for now, at least. And then we get a beautiful reversal, and then we can rally. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. Let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you all so much for watching. You know, hopefully that these videos help you a little bit mentally, at least, because again, the market is 90% mental, guys. It's 90% mental. I promise, maybe even more, seriously, right? It's all mental games. So hopefully these videos help you guys on the mental side, because I think, in my opinion, that's the hardest part, right? Just constantly watching this and your portfolio just get demolished. It's not easy, right? But again, my word of advice, guys, just don't look at the portfolio. Honestly, if you don't have to, if you're not trading at all, don't even look at the chart. Who cares? It doesn't matter. If you're a long-term holder, if you're an investor especially, who cares? If you're a trader and you got trapped and you're now an investor, welcome to the investor group. But all that being said and done, that's essentially hopefully, you know, what I'm seeing, and hopefully the videos help you, you know, mentally, and hopefully maybe even on the charts themselves. But yeah, let me know what you think down below. Happy holidays to everyone celebrating, you know, whatever you're celebrating. Merry Christmas, you know, whatever, all that stuff. Happy holidays. And yeah, I'll see you guys on Tuesday. So until then, thanks for watching. Peace.